Guys, Spidermonkey here. I'm just here with Snortle, and I just want to go through some mouse sensitivity settings, and just go through what you're going to need if you're to use these settings and be successful with them, and also look at your in-game settings and what I have it set to, and possibly what you can set yours to. So first of all, I just want to go through. I'm going to bring up the in-game settings for you. If you go to your mouse and keyboard settings, I've set at a 3.0 sensitivity and an ADS of zero point 0.8. Now, Snort was saying that he's got his ADS set to 1, which you were explaining, Snort, that basically gives you an equal sensitivity to whether you're aiming down sights or whether you're not. Is that right?
Yeah, so I want to be able to stay consistent whether I'm doing ADS or not. So then my mouse movements are the same.
Yeah, and that's because you pretty much ADS quite a lot. So for me, I probably hip fire a little bit more, and when I'm ADSing, I'm really looking down the sight. So for long distance, not so much for sort of close to mid range. I sort of mix it up a bit depending on how well I'm going with my aim. So pretty much, yeah, those are the in-game settings, and then from your mouse point of view, I've currently got it set at a 400 DPI, and something was recommended to me from Snortle, was to reduce my DPI settings to try and improve my aim. So that was pretty much my goal, because it's something that's been lacking outside of other small skill issues. But overall, aim, I think, was one of my biggest issues, and it has actually really helped me. And yeah, where did you actually get the 400 DPI setting from, Snort?
So I looked at a lot of the pro gamers and they had a much lower setting than me. So I used to be playing on around 1200 DPI, and I could never track someone when I was trying to shoot them and keep my sight on them as they moved. I could never track them. I was always going way too fast with my mouse actions. So I checked out what a lot of the pros like Shroud, Diego, Saws, who's part of TSM, Vis, and guys like that, and just saw, well, they use a low DPI setting and a low in-game setting for mouse sensitivity.
Right. Yeah, which is always a good guide. So what I'm going to do is I will put up on screen just my mouse settings, which shows it for the Naga Razor. Obviously, your mouse may be different, your different software, it'll vary, but all of them stay consistent. It'll still be 400 DPI no matter what the software is. But you really just need to play with that yourself to get it right for you. One other thing I want to raise that I had issues with before was the platform I was working from was large enough, but my actual mouse pad wasn't large enough. So I've had to go out and buy a significantly larger mouse pad to allow my arm to move that sort of distance. And I think, Snort, you were saying you have a full mouse pad that runs all the way across your keyboard.
Yeah, so I'm similar. My mouse pad now goes under my keyboard as well as extends quite a lot further out. It's about, I think it's 900 millimeters wide.
900 mil, okay, yeah, which is decent. So that's something you got to look at. If you've got a really small desk you're playing on, maybe you've only got one screen and you're not going to be able to move your arm as well as you need to, and you're constantly going to be able to have to lift that mouse up, then that's potentially going to be an issue as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it from the mouse sensitivity standpoint.
The line.
Yep. All right, so you can shoot it there. All right.
You just put a hole in it.
It'll fade away, don't worry.
They're going to look at that shot and go,
test fire. This wall was never patched in the first place.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so the next thing I want to talk about, just from a general gameplay sense for someone who's newer to the game and perhaps has played other battle royales, but not played Apex a great deal, and is kind of here just for some basics to try to help them get started and help them improve their game. One thing I want to touch on is recoil of your weapons, and basically to get into the firing range, which is where we are now, and practice with your weapons and find what your favourites are, and get used to their firing pattern. I'll just get Snort to show us here the pattern of what's that using? R99?
This one's a 301.
Using 301. Okay, so I'm going to show you the 301. Go for it, Snort.
So this is without any adjustment.
Yeah. So you can kind of see straight away there. And the 301's a really good weapon from a recoil standpoint. It's actually, one of the ones that you can make a laser, but still has that recoil to it. And the further if you back away a little bit further, right back to the wall there, and do that again. And
okay, has that reset?
You're right. Just fire lower. As you can see there, that's a significant jump with no adjustment. So when Snort's firing and he's aiming at his target, he really needs to sort of pull down and to the side to stay directly on his target. I don't want to go on about it too much, but it's something you really need to jump in the firing range and get used to with your weapons, so that you can get that laser aim that everyone's after, and track as well while you're doing it, that sort of thing. Anything else you've got to add about that, Snort?
I'll just give a comparison of what it looks like when you do make the adjustment.
Okay.
So I'll do it on this
Yep.
next figure.
Got that. Perfect.
You ready?
Yep. Yeah, so you can see there Snort's really controlled that, and if that guy was standing there, he'd be dead.
Yeah, so that's pulling down and slightly to the left as you're shooting.
Yep.
And so each gun has its own distinct pattern, and if you choose just a couple that you really like and you just spend a little bit of time doing this, you can end up compensating for the gun in the game and hitting more of your target.
Yeah, for sure. I will mention as well, if you do have your settings down low and you can't see the bullet holes at all, if you go to your video settings and you scroll right down the bottom, there's a setting called impact marks. If you just want to put that up to high for the testing side of things, and then while you're in game, you don't really need them on. You can turn them off, whichever way you want to go. The other thing, I just want to give a couple of tips, I suppose. Maybe a Snort can think of something for new players or someone who's really early on in playing Apex. From me, I think one of the biggest things that players from other battle royales make the mistake of is don't try to take on an entire team by yourself. I mean, I know it sounds self-explanatory, but the bottom line is, if you run in because you hear someone shooting, there's going to be 3 guys there generally. Whereas in most battle royales, you might run in, and generally it's the 1v1 game. Obviously Fortnite, for instance, has its group game, but if you're used to doing solo drops and you're a person who just likes to get in there, you're going to have some trouble. You really need to use your team early, hold back with them, and then all push at the same time. From a basic tip point of view, that's about as simple as it gets. Use your teammates, let them help you win the fight. And the other one from me is cover. Cover is so huge, and it's something that a lot of guys forget to do, and they run out in an open field, and then they're shooting back at a guy in an open field who might be in cover, and you can only see the guy's head. Makes it very, very difficult. If I get on the other side of here and I'm out and open, Snort comes and looks sort of where he's at now, he can shoot me from that little edge there, and I've got to wait for the tiniest little pocket for him to peek out before I can actually hit him. So don't stand out in the open when you're in a firefight. Obviously there's times you're going to get caught out, but overall, duck for cover, get a bit of cover, and then once you've got that cover, it gives you a chance to peek out from behind it and be less of a target. Pretty simple stuff, but just need to keep reminding yourself of it. And Snort, how about you? Have you got anything you would add to that?
I would say both of those are excellent advice. The next thing I would say is, as you start to master that, you want to think about playing to your strengths. And so some people might be really good with certain weapons, like some people are really good with snipers, some people are really good with shotguns. Find out which weapons suit you and play to that style. And then if you play to that style, you'll have a lot more success. And if you're having more success, you'll enjoy the game more.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing I would suggest is that as you start to learn those three things and get better, the next thing is about the strategy with your team. And I would say the two things, or the one thing that I would always try to reinforce and remember is push your advantage when you've got it, and then play defensively if you don't have the advantage. So if there's a gunfight between two different squads, and you can go in there and take advantage of that while they're in a gunfight and their shields are down and they're scrambling and perhaps one or two people have died and you've got a full squad of 3 people, that's where you should push your advantage and actually go into that fight and wipe them out. Yep. Likewise, if you're in a bad situation where there's a squad that you're fighting and they've got the high ground, you've got the low ground, and they're just tearing you up, you might want to play defensively and back right out.
Yeah, there's no harm in retreating there and maybe healing up and pushing another position, or whether you hook around, the side somewhere or something like that. There's no harm in doing that. That's the best way to go. There's no point just running in and dying for the sake of it. If you pull back, you can survive, heal up, get back in the fight.
Yep.
Cool.
Those are my tips.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this was somewhat helpful to some newer players and maybe some older players. And yeah, good luck.